My name is Jeff Scruggs.
I'm Cheryl SCRUGGS.
Cheryl and I met in Memphis, Tennessee. I was 1 year out of college in my first job, and Cheryl was a senior at Memphis State University. We dated for 8 months. We planned a wedding in about 3 months, get married, and move to Los Angeles. Our focus was just on all the worldly possessions. Could we have the right toys, driving the right cars?
8 years into the marriage, I was at a sales meeting and I started talking to a guy that I've known for a long time. What began that night as an innocent conversation turned into a full-blown adulterous affair. Jeff asked me what was wrong, and I guess he could tell us something was wrong, and I told him I didn't love him and I wasn't sure I'd ever loved him.
I thought our marriage was great. We both had great jobs. I had a beautiful wife, 2 gorgeous daughters, and an ocean view home. So I was like, what could possibly be wrong? So when Cheryl came to me and said that she didn't love me, in fact, she'd never loved me, I was totally caught off guard. And obviously, I had been asleep at the wheel. And the one thing that became so clear to me was the lack of our spiritual focus in our marriage. We were that couple that shows up at church on Christmas and Easter. When we got to Dallas and started going back to church, and for me, knowing that our marriage was in trouble, I ran back to Jesus. My motivation may not have been right at the time. I was just wanting to save my marriage, but reality is God started doing some amazing things in my heart.
August 21st, 1992, our divorce was final.
About a year after the divorce, God was really convicting me and showing me that, Jeff, you weren't this godly man. You did not sacrificially serve your wife. You were a selfish husband. You didn't lead her well. You didn't lead your children well.
3 months after we divorced, I came to know the Lord. What I saw is the devastation that I'd left behind me, and that was a crumbled marriage and a broken family. I
was so just really hurt and depressed. And struggling with anger towards Cheryl. In fact, I was so angry at her for 3 years following the divorce, I couldn't even look at her. It was just so gut-wrenching because every night when I put the girls to bed, they would cry. If they were at my house, they wanted their mom. They were at her house, they wanted me, and it just really broke my heart. One night, as I was laying in bed, God was showing me that, Jeff, you've been leaning on your own understanding and doing it your way for 36 years. It's time to fully surrender your heart to me. Really, for the first time, I can say I own my own faith, and God became my Savior. Jesus became my Savior and my Lord that night. I was learning for the first time in my life at the age of 33 to study the Bible for the first time, and right on the paper, the words came, I want you to pursue reconciliation of your marriage. I realized that Jeff and I had not done it right in our first marriage, and so those words that came on the paper for me came alive. It led me to write a letter to Jeff. At the end, I said, Jeff, I've become a Christian, and I feel like God is wanting us to put our marriage back together. I was still very angry at her. I looked at her and I said, Cheryl, look, I don't ever want to talk to you again. What happened with that letter, though, was over the next 30 to 60 days, I probably pulled it out of my drawer and read it another 12 times. It really did pull at my heart. I couldn't deal with the whole pride thing, and like, what would I tell my friends? What would I tell my family? That this woman that broke up my family and ripped out my heart, that I would give her a second chance? Jeff finally started to accept invitations to my house for dinner. We dated as a family. We started going out on dates alone. I was getting a little impatient, and I finally said to Jeff one day, Jeff, what are you waiting on? You've known me for a long time. We were married for 10 years. What is it you're waiting on? And Jeff looked me in the eye and he said, how do I know you're not going to do the same thing? I had to take it to the Lord at that moment because I didn't know how I could promise another human being that I wouldn't fail them again. That's what I really needed to hear. I needed to know it was about the Lord, and not necessarily just about us. Cheryl wasn't only a new creation, but so was I, because God had really softened both of our hearts. We decided to get remarried. The girls were gone away to camp. They were at Sky Ranch. I said, while you were gone, your mom and I decided to get remarried. And Brittany just grabbed a hold of the counter and just buckled at the knees and started crying. And Lauren, she was so excited. She goes, is this for real? Is this for real? And she was just running around the house going, is this for real? And it was for real. A couple months after that, we got remarried in the mountains of Colorado. Since then, God has just done some amazing things in our marriage and our life. Our marriage has been back together now for 12 years, God is the one that changed our hearts. It wasn't Cheryl or Jeff. Jesus is the one that changed our hearts.
The most important relationship in your life is Jesus Christ. Instead of seeking after someone else or getting a divorce or pursuing that, no matter what, go to Him and tell Him what's on your heart. It's worth saving.